Sport bike, cruiser bike, touring bike, cafe bike. I don't know what this thing is. Cue the intro. What's up, guys? I'm Sean from Srkcycles. I am here with a 2014 BMW R9T. And to really learn about this actual bike, yes, this bike, the R9T came out in 2014, but it really came out in 1969 when BMW came out with the R75-5. And that was their bike to try to compete with the other companies. Honda, BSA, Triumph, all the big competition back then, and Kawasaki. But it really didn't do it. It did not hold up. And BMW in the early 70s went through a point where they might shut down BMW motorcycles because they weren't selling, because they weren't performing. If you win races, you win in the sale room. It actually got to the point where the people from leaders from BMW Automobile had to jump in and really bring the motorcycle business back up. And that's where they made the BMW R90S. And the R90S actually did pretty good. What this bike is a throwback to that bike. Now, if you look at pictures of it, people kind of cafe'd them out, and they made them look awesome. And it ends up being like, they had a bullet fairing, and it was a very cool looking bike. So this is a throwback to that bike. Not in the performance aspect of it. It's not like Corvette where, okay, it was a Corvette in the 60s because it was fast, and it was a Corvette now because it's also fast and performs. The difference is, this is more like, the throwback is not of its performance, but the throwback is of its fun and awesome styling. Let's kind of dive into it. The R9T has a tubular frame, and it is, of course, you recognize this motor. This is the BMW 1170 Boxer twin motor. This is pretty much similar motor that they put in a bunch of other bikes. It's an extremely reliable motor. Same engine you see in the GS bikes also. 110 horsepower and 88 foot-pounds of torque. Now this bike weighs in at just around 500 pounds and has a lot of cool stuff like steel braided lines, info button. You can get these things with traction control and all that fun jazz. And if you come over here, you see that the bike is rocking an Akrapovic exhaust. Some of the coolest styling features of this bike is the giant engine that hangs out of the side, which is unusual unless it's a BMW. You get the single-sided swing arm shaft drive. You get the throwback to this thing with the hand-polished aluminum tank. And I believe in this year, this bike only came in one color, and that is black. Now we do have one of those cool little cowls for it, which came from BMW, which costs $500, which is awesome looking. When you're looking at the bike, there's a couple of different things that you really notice, but it's a very simple design, very basic, simple design, and I love it. So this bike is not the fastest thing out. It's fast, but it's not the fastest thing out there. It corners. It's not the best cornering thing out there. What this bike does is this bike may be one of the most fun and enjoyable bikes out there. Let's do a test drive. All right, guys, for the test drive, let's do the words of wisdom. Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for diversity. That's a good one. So I was contemplating, I'm like, man, what gloves should I wear? I started wearing, I was going to grab the other gloves, the 507s, but then I was like, you know what? No, this is more of the cruisers. The 508s are more of a appropriate glove for this bike. Man, I'm so pumped to ride this bike. I feel like this is a necessity. If you have a bunch of bikes, if you're putting together a collection, this is a unique enough bike, and it's just so much fun to drive. And here's one of the coolest things about it. You don't get this anywhere else other than one of these Boxer engines. Is you're sitting here, and the bike vibrates this way, and when you rev it up, it kind of kicks it that way. It's such a cool feeling. It's so interesting how they configure. All bikes are rear wheel drive, but they figure out different ways to configure the motor. We're used to V-twins this way, but Moto Guzzi does them this way, and when you have Boss Haas and they put a big V8 in the bike, they do it this way. But then I've seen motorcycles where they did it the opposite way, and they just pretty much attached a chain to the crankshaft. Brakes feel tight tight, very responsive. Now, like I was saying, I mean, this is not the fastest bike out there, right? But don't get me wrong, this is a fast bike. This thing moves. I mean, no one, honestly, unless you're trying to just puff yourself up. Okay, here's one way people go to puff themselves up in the flex. You say everything's not as good as what it is, because then people think, oh man, like, you know, you come back and you drive a Ferrari and you're like, it ain't that fast. You know, people think, whoa, what's this guy used to driving? Normally people just think you're being just a jerk, but in the grand scheme of things, it's over 100 horsepower motorcycle that weighs 500 pounds. Yes, of course, there's faster bikes, and this is not BMW's flagship fast bike. It was never supposed to be. But it is a lot of fun to ride. I would love it'd be a blast to take this thing down like the tail of the dragon or something like that. And this thing's torquey. This bike pulls pretty hard. Anytime you see a bike with a factory steering damper, don't say dampener, I still say dampener. Damper. You know the bike is fast enough to potentially pull wheelies without you necessarily trying it. If you're wondering why this thing moves, you're like, oh, why is that thing moving? That's just part of the, it's like the little suspension, because the engine vibrates, little suspension for the gauges. You can put a little slack in there. That's what that's for. I was hoping this guy was not going to go the same way I was going. Just need a little bit of space. Yeah, this thing's pretty quick. I think the 0 to 60 time in this thing is going to be... Alright, here we go. I'm about to do 0 to 60 up here on the on-ramp. This is the time of the video where I see if I can guess my own 0 to 60. This bike moves, and I'm pretty close to these numbers. I don't check them all the time. I'm pretty close. I think I can get this thing in one try. 3 seconds or faster. This is quick because it's torquey. I don't need it's got good power but at low end. I don't think I'm gonna need to like dump the clutch. I think I can just kind of like dump it at like maybe 2,000 RPMs and then just roll, shift in the second, and then midway in the second I'm gonna hit 60. It's gonna be one shift. That's my prediction. Let's do it. I really like the way BMWs feel. The shifting, the downshifting, the upshifting, it's very, very smooth, very responsive. There. I almost, first gear almost takes you to 60. It took me to like 55. Just getting up to the speed limit. There we go. Oh, not quite there yet. There we go. Just getting up to the speed limit. Man, this is that bike that you can buy and you can make it do everything. You know what I mean? If you were like, I'm gonna jump on a bike and I'm just gonna go, you know, just go to the coffee store or go to the coffee store. Who goes to the coffee store? Coffee store. I'm gonna jump on this bike and I'm gonna go to my friend's house. I'm gonna go for a little ride around. You know, everyone has that little area that they love riding. You know, and you got, hopefully it's local. I got a little area. I've taken you guys there a couple times. It's my little zone. The whole trip's like an hour, but it's not that far away. Or you want to race around with your buddies a little bit, you know what I mean? Or you want to, you know, go to a bike show, or you want to do a big trip. You know, like this bike, that's so cool looking. All the sprinklers and stuff like that. This bike is very transformable. You know, throw some bags on it, whatever. I mean, we're on the highway. We're doing 70 miles an hour. It's at 3,400 RPMs. It sounds like the engine's barely doing anything. You know, it gets down to this nice quiet tone. It feels great. The whole bike is just smoothed out. It's perfectly smooth right now. You know, the ergonomics of this is very comfortable. Now, if you put some crash bars on top of these jugs, where you could put your legs up on here. Right now, it's gonna burn my calves after a while. But if you can put your legs up on here, because they make those, this would be you know, you can kind of change your seating while you're riding on a big trip. Man, this is great. I guess it's being a blast. You're doing a lot of cool stuff, putting a lot of miles on a bike like this. So this bike does a lot of stuff really, really well. But it's not. But nothing that it does is doing it on the highest level. You know, which for the average, for the most average person, that's not what you want. You don't need that. You don't need the R1M or the HP, you know, S1000RR. You know what I mean? Because you're not at that point. Hey, just because you're not at that point, that's not like I'm not bashing anybody. Hey man, I'm there. I'm trying to get there. Who cares? You're not at that point. You know, I've made this comparison before. The same way you feel, the same way the world's best motorcycle riders feel when they're jumping on this bike is the exact same way you feel as a novice rider. Wind in your chest, you know what I mean? Wind in your face. Enjoying God's beautiful earth. It's the same feeling. It's not like, you know, because he's the best rider in the world, he's the fastest guy, he's freaking Rossi, that he jumps on a bike like this and the air tastes sweeter. It's the same air. Now, unless you're like, you know, New York or LA, and then it's like some crap air, just legit bad stuff, you know what I mean? Don't breathe that. But out here, it's pretty nice. Guys, this bike is so cool. It's such a cool bike. Check out the website, Srkcycles.com. I think we listed this bike for $9,000. $9,000, Srkcycles.com. It is for sale. We will see you guys later. Remember, it is not what you're riding, but where you're going.